This is Jack Rice at the United Nations, and I'm here with Douglas Gardner of the UN Development Program. Again, Doug, thank you very much for coming on with me.
Pleasure, Jack.
As we were talking, you are essentially the head man, if you will, for lack of a better description, in Mongolia, just out of Cambodia, Ukraine, but you are also in Myanmar as the deputy of that. Talk to me about what the development program is designed to do, first of all, so people have a better understanding of it.
Yeah. The development program of UNDP is very much oriented to helping people in the country that we live in. That can vary between supporting social services, trying to get kids in school, health services. It can be supporting the institutions that deliver these services, the governance of the country, the institutions, the parliaments and the executive branch, but as well environmental issues. These are increasingly important, particularly since the countries that we work in are countries with high levels of poverty, and many of those poor people are living off of the land in agriculture, fisheries, etc. This is the kind of work that UNDP, United Nations Development Program, does in each of the 166 countries that we work in around the globe.
When we talk about the UNDP, oftentimes people think about what the UN does, and in many ways, what it is that you do is what people think about. It's not just a refugee question. It's trying to help people better their lives, to bring stability. Yeah. How difficult is that in this world, in a broader sense, and then in these specific areas where you've worked?
It's not easy. Poverty is a moving target. If I could sort of narrow it down to a household, and this is the way I always thought about development. It wasn't statistics of millions of people, but I always thought of a little village that I visited with a man and a woman and their kids, and what they're trying to do is like what I'm trying to do with my wife and kids, is get them through school, look to their future, have some food on the table, a roof over our head. In poor developing countries, this is never automatic. It's a real struggle. And we've seen that with the calamities that have just happened, with the earthquake in China or the cyclone in Myanmar, how vulnerable poor people are. And this is where UNDP really concentrates. We try and support countries in addressing the needs of these poorest people.
I can just imagine the voice of some people in this country will say, well, we can't do that here. Why should we do that there?
People are people around the globe. You have to do it wherever it is. And I think we've, the unique thing about mankind in 2008 is that we have the tools. We have the know-how. It's just a matter of putting that in play for all people around the globe. It's not that one person's better than another. I think this is very much at the heart of what the United States is all about. It's about kindness, it's about development, it's about supporting others. So I think the United States has been a very big player around the globe in this development work and should continue to be so.
You mentioned the cyclone in China. You mentioned what was going on in Myanmar as well. You have personal experience as the deputy in Myanmar as well. Talk about that some. Explain how you do what it is that you do, how maybe the UN more broadly does what they do under these almost impossible circumstances.
Yeah, the work that I did in Myanmar, and I was there from 1993 to 1996, is rather unique. It is very much trying to support the grassroots needs of the poor people. What you just saw in the past, 6-8 weeks after this cyclone in the Irrawaddy Delta was the extraordinary impact of nature and the extraordinary vulnerability of poor people who are there largely as rice growers and largely as fisher people. And what has happened is that salt water has come in and inundated their land, so their productivity of rice is very much at risk. Secondly, their boats and other things have perished. So it's really a crisis situation that we're looking at for over 1 million people in this southernmost area of Myanmar. Myanmar, of course, is in Southeast Asia. It's an extraordinary country with a long history, population of over 40 million people, beautiful temples, an amazing place to have worked, but to see the kind of devastation and what these people have gone through is just very moving, and our hope is that we can continue the efforts to try and get immediate humanitarian assistance those people need in the Irrawaddy Delta, and then look at the longer-term reconstruction and production issues that these people are facing.
Then how do you do that if we're talking about tens of thousands dead? No. And then we're talking about the long-term issues, as you described, with all the salt water that's moved in and may have destroyed a lot of the ability for these people to survive after the fact. What is the role of the UNDP, the UN, or anybody else to step in and do this, and how you work with the government to do that?
Every country that the United Nations Development Program works in is different. The issues that we face are very different. In Myanmar, obviously, there are political issues, and there's the complexity of working there with the government. But on the development side, which is where we focus, you have poor people. You have difficulty in getting to the area. You have roads that you can put a truck on that can bring water, can bring food, can bring tent. UNDP is doing that. We're doing it with a mix of boats, helicopters, whatever we can to try and get tents, basic shelter, food, and water. And this is not just UNDP, it's a UN-wide effort. Our Secretary General Ban Ki-moon was recently there inspecting the situation. So it's a very, very complex situation, but that's what we're trying to deal with. It's not the first time we've been put in front of, I wouldn't call it a mission impossible, but certainly a very difficult mission.
I listen to what you say, and I think of all the years that you've done this. How frustrating does it get then? For you, if all you want to do is help. All you want to do is go in and help people who desperately need it, but you can't, or you're not getting the cooperation you would like. I'm not talking about any place in specific. I don't want to take you down a path you don't want to go, but personally, how hard is that?
I think in this business, you have to take some satisfaction at moments of success. And I remember driving through the remote areas of Cambodia in a Land Cruiser early in the morning one day and looking at the backs of children as they were going into school. And for me, this was a victory to see that through all of this support in a country like Cambodia that had gone through decades of conflict, that small children with sacks over their shoulders, talking to their friends, were going to school finally. So there are moments of success. There are elements of progress, of growth, of a mother successfully completing childbirth, or a water system going in, or a Cambodian getting a new job because their education system works. So it's not all doom and gloom. We do see progress. We do see things happening, and personally, I take satisfaction in that. And it's that sweet and sour. You're very moved by a cyclone in Myanmar, but likewise you have to say, kids are going to school in Cambodia, or where I was in Ukraine, that there's support being provided to people living in the shadow of Chernobyl, the nuclear accident, and they're now getting back on their feet. Or in Mongolia, that the microfinance program that we started is helping poor people, largely women, to start a business. And these are the satisfactions that you need to take from the development work, because it does work.
Doug, thank you so much.
Thanks. My pleasure, Jack.
Again, Doug Gardner of the UNDP. This is Jack Rice at the United Nations.